So one may ask the question, what are layers? Well, imagine you are making a very cool drawing, and maybe you have three sheets, and the first one you draw a sky, the second one you draw a tree, and the third one you draw a bird. And then you find a way to cut all of these things out, and then you stack them together on a drawing board. I mean, you place them by each other so that they form a very beautiful picture on the drawing board. Now think about it. What you have on the drawing board is now a single picture, but individually you can tear them apart because they are not actually really together. You have just kept them together. You see, when you pick any of those individually, you can call them layers because they are on different sheet of papers. I hope that makes it somehow clearer. In Photoshop, when working with it, we have such a thing as layers. You actually work in layers, and they are very important. So now I'm going to activate the layer panel. Let's go to Windows, and then when you go to Windows, among all of these, you see the layers. Have you seen it just popped up? So this is called the layer panel. I mean, most of the time you find it over here by default, but it's something you can move. You can move it to any point at all you feel comfortable working with it. Yeah, so that is layers for you. If you want to close it back, you just, and then it's gone. So I'm going to activate it again, and bam, it comes. All right, and then you can actually make it smaller, minimize, or whatsoever you may call it. All right, now let's get to understand layers, what exactly it is all about. So assuming I want to draw shapes of different kind. The first one, let's say a rectangle, that way. And see, I've just drawn a rectangle. Oh, I'm not drawing again. Okay, and then the second one, say I want to draw a polygon. Yes, that's a triangle. Let me change the color. So that's it. We have a triangle. So the next one, I'm drawing a circle or an arc, or I mean an ellipse or whatever. Okay, so that is it. Great. Okay, so I'm sure your attention is on the canvas. If I say the canvas, this white sheet of paper, you can see that's the canvas. That's where you do all your works. So when you focus on it, you can see the rectangle, the triangle, and then the circle. But actually, when you check the layers panel, you get to understand that they are all in different layers. They are not all on a single layer. So you see, this is the layer for the rectangle, and then this is the layer for the polygon, and this is the layer for the ellipse. Now let's use that to understand layers a bit. When you take a single layer, for an example, that of the ellipse, it has some features. The first one you can see, or let's take the rectangle. The first one you can see is a thumbnail preview. So when you look at that, smaller, rectangular, frame, you can see the rectangle over there. So that's the thumbnail. It's even written there, layer thumbnail. Can you see it's appeared? Yeah, so this one is called the thumbnail, and it simply gives you a view or an overview or a glimpse into what you have actually selected. And aside that, we also have the layer name. So as you can see, rectangle is over the layer name, and this thing you can easily edit it. The layer name, you can change it to whatever name you want. So it's just the matter of double clicking it and you change it to maybe matte. Yes, and then you click outside of it and you just change the name by doing that. Remember, I just taught you how to change the name. And also we have the visibility toggle, which is this one, that thing that has been like an eye. You can see it. Yes, so once you click on it, you realize that it's gone. Yes, you've not actually deleted it. What you've just done is you've hid it. So you can hide and then unhide it using the visibility toggle. And also we have the lock options. Now this layer, the matte layer, which is a rectangle this the move option is selected, I can move it all around. I can edit the colors and all of that. But we can actually lock it, saying that we are making a design and we want this one to be, almost permanently here. So what we're going to do is that we're simply going to lock it. How do we lock it? So once the layer has been selected, you go to the top there, you see that icon like a padlock. Yes, you place it on it and then it's locked. So now when I click on it and drag, it won't even allow me to, click on it because that layer is considered not editable. Okay, so that's how you actually get to lock it. And also we have the blend mode and opacity. When you check there, you can see opacity. I can decide to, reduce the opacity or increase the opacity. And then the blend mode, this is actually, the blend mode. And it's basically going to determine how this particular layer is going to blend with, the layers beneath it. So for an example, if I should place this on the circle, the circle, the ellipse is beneath the rectangular, layer. So if I go to the rectangular layer and I go to the blend modes, we have several blend modes. So it just decides, see, this one I blended it. I don't really know the color I change it to. So it sort of, creates a contrast effect, a combined effect. So those are actually the blend mode. I hope you got that. Yes, so one may ask the question, are these layers important? Why not just draw them on a single, layer, all of them, and then work with all of them? Just like that. Yes, it is actually important because it gives you the flexibility to, to edit, the flexibility to edit. So for an example, if once the rectangle is on this layer, you can edit this layer alone knowing that it is just the rectangle you are editing. But had it been combined with a circle layer and you want to add some effect, you'd realize that it would be very difficult. So, when you, design, you add elements, objects, shapes, and all of that in different layers, it gives you more flexibility, it gives you more control over your work. And also, if say that you have your rectangle, place in front of something else, so this portion we have the rectangle and then the circle. So let me just reduce the opacity. So we have the rectangle and then the circle, and you just come to the canvas and then you select. Why it does is that it picks the layer which is at the surface, and then you ignore the one beneath it. So if you really want to select the circle, you have to come to the layers and then select it. Okay, so let's move on to learn another thing about the layers. You can, add some new layers manually. You don't have to, create something and then the layer will be added automatically. No, you can add it manually. And you do so by clicking the plus sign. Once you click it, another layer has been added. So if I'm to add any other thing, it will come to this layer. So say I want to add text. Okay, I think the size is really little. That's why you can see it. So I've just added this text and have you realized that the text has appeared on the layer I created? So that layer has automatically accommodated the text. So that's how to add new layers. And you can delete layers. You just, select it and press backspace or whatever, and boom, it is deleted. So you have that flexibility to work with it. Remember how to add layer is by pressing the plus button over there. The other way around too is, if you also want to add layer and you don't want to use this one, you can just go to layers, then go to new. Now watch the layer panel, new, and then you go to layer. Great. So they will even ask you to put the name first. Then bam, another layer has been added, and you can add your extra elements you want to, use for your designs. Remember, layers are really important because it gives you control over your work, the flexibility, the allowance to work. Okay, so let's delete this newly created layer, and then let's get to learn something else. There's such a thing as duplication of layers. So this layer, for instance, the rectangular layer, you see, Remember that I reduced the opacity, so now I'm bringing it back in full. Let me select the move tool and then move it aside. We can actually duplicate this layer, and it's very simple. You just press Alt on your keyboard, and then you press and drag. You click and drag that layer. So have you seen matte copy? I've just duplicated it, but you can't see it here because it has been lumped up, placed on top of each other. But to drag the matte copy away, you realize that this one is still over there. So that's how you simply, duplicate layers. And also, you can group layers. So let's say that you have a lot of these, rectangles all around, a lot of these rectangles all around, and you want to have all of them in one category, in one group or one class. What you do is that you just select all of these layers together, and you can select them by pressing shift, and then you click on all of them one by one, or maybe you just press shift and then you click on the first, and then the last one is automatically. This is just computer language. Computer language also works here. Pressing shift and selecting it works not just in Photoshop, but even on your desktop and all of that. Okay, so once you select all of them, you press Control G, Control G, and then you group them together so you can name them as, let's say, rectangles. All right, so that's how to group your layers. And remember, this particular newly categorized layer contains a category of layers. I hope you got me. So if I'm to hide this one, you see they've all been hidden. But how do we actually get the individual layers back? You just drop down the arrow there, and then you see the individual layers. Yes, they've been created, and you can even create subgroups. But you select just two, and then create group them. Control plus Z. Remember, and then you name it something else, maybe mat subset or whatever. So you see, this is a group inside a group. And you can group it. I mean, as much as you want. You can have subsets of subsets. I hope you got that. Okay, so that's how to group the layers and organize them really properly. And as a good graphic designer, you ought to always label your layers. Don't just leave them as layer one, layer two, layer three, copy of layer. No, as you are working, be labeling them, and it's going to really help you. And that's how to actually work professionally. Okay, so let's move on to reordering layers. This rectangle is on the third position from beneath. One, two, three. You can reorder them by you just click and then you drag it. It's not just the group one. You can the test layer, for an example. Remember, this is the test layer, the one with the test. Great. So you can drag it beneath, and it becomes, you just hold and drag. So that's how you actually get to reorganize layers. And then deleting layers is simply simple. You just select the layer you want to, delete, and on your keyboard you press on delete, and then it's gone. Or I just press Control plus Z. Or maybe you press on backspace, it also delete it, and then it's gone. Gone forever, unless maybe you press Control plus Z to, undo the actions you just did. God bless you.